Welcome, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join us in today's webinar. We're excited to have you here as we address some of the most important questions surrounding international education with insights from our expert panel who is with us here today. So, to get us started, let me introduce myself. My name is Neha Shetty, and I serve as the Regional Director for GUS North America, overseeing operations across India for our InUni partner institutions. And in my role, I'm responsible for driving market performance and supporting student recruitment efforts for all our US and Canadian partner institutions in the region. With me, I also have Stephen Neal, who is the Associate Director of Global Recruitment at InUni USA. With his extensive experience and deep knowledge of the international education, Stephen offers invaluable perspective on global student recruitment trends and strategies. He will also be co-moderating today's session with me.
Yeah, thank you, Neha, for that very kind introduction. So, yeah, very excited to be here today. It's going to be a very exciting discussion. We're joined by a very exceptional group of professors, doctors, and the wider panel, whose insights will definitely be thought-provoking, inspiring, and yeah, will leave you with a lot of excitement looking to the future. So I look forward to exploring the diverse perspectives that you each offer, and yeah, and seeing what you can bring to the table on the discussion. But before we dive in, Neha, I think there's some housekeeping rules that we need to discuss.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Stephen. So, before we begin, a few quick housekeeping notes. We highly encourage you to ask questions throughout the webinar. Very important. We want it to be as engaging as possible. So, please use the Q&A box in your webinar interface to submit them at any time. Okay, please do that because our speakers will do their best to address your questions as we progress through the key topics and discussions. So, before we proceed to the main discussion, Stephen will share a brief introduction to Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute with us. Over to you, Steve.
Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm sure quite a few of you will know about RPI, but for those
Yes,
who maybe
yes,
this is the first time understanding what the institute has to offer, I'll go back to our origins. So we're established in 1824, so we had our 200th anniversary last year. We're the oldest technological research university in the US, so very historic. We were the first one also to award a civil engineering degree. We're recognized globally for pioneering innovations and academic excellence in science and engineering. So yeah, we really do see a lot of success through our industry links, our cutting edge facilities, and also the research that takes place. RPI is dedicated to shaping leaders who solve global challenges through technology and also innovation. So looking at it in a bit more detail, so we have a legacy of innovation. So as mentioned, we were founded more than 200 years ago, and within those 200 years, we've had many innovators that have came through our ranks and through our different schools. We have had some previous alumni who have created household items like the sprinkler system or sunscreen. We also had the inventor of the Ferris wheel. These are just to name a few, but going through those 200 years, there's so many that I couldn't possibly list them. We are a research powerhouse, so annually we have over $100 million committed to research. This takes place through our 32 plus research centers. And within those research centers, in one of them, we have the IBM Quantum One supercomputer. So we're the only university in the world that has this on campus. We also encourage undergrad students as well as our grad students to get involved in research. Um, Looking at our alumni, so one of our most notable recent alumni is the new Apple COO, Sabi Khan. So funnily enough, his origins goes back to India, so it's very pertinent to this discussion that we'll have today. But yeah, the new Apple COO came through his ranks at RPI. Looking at our academic strength, so we're home to 5 schools offering over 145 plus programs, undergrad and also grad level. This is including top ranked programs in engineering, architecture, IT, and business programs. These are delivered at our School of Architecture, our Lally School of Management, our School of Science, School of Engineering, and also our Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences department. And looking globally, we are actively involved in international partnerships and research collaborations. That's with institutes and other organizations across the world. And this means that we attract faculty and students from over 60 countries, and that's especially students from India, which we will go into a bit more detail, of course, right now. So looking at the location of RPI, so we're located in Troy, New York. So this is upstate New York. So we're nestled between New York City and the Adirondack Mountains. So it's kind of best of both worlds. We have access to the amazing New York City, but if you're a nature lover and you maybe don't want to be actually in the city all the time every day, it's good to have the access to nature and other things outside of amazing New York City. So students can obviously benefit from having the amazing campus, as mentioned, over 32 research centers, but then also being close enough to, the famous New York City. Looking at the local area of Troy, it's very diverse. This is due to not only our amazing college, but also there's a number of different colleges and institutes in the local area, which really adds to the diversity. Looking at proximity to New York, as mentioned, it's only 2.5 hours, but then also it's only 3 hours to Boston and 4 hours to Montreal. And then for our international students traveling in, we have the Albany International Airport, which is nearby for convenient travel access. So let's get into the nitty gritty of who we have on the panel today. So we have Dr. Agong Julius. He is a professor and associate dean for research and graduate studies at RPI. He is also a professor of electrical, computer, and systems engineering. We're also lucky enough to be joined by Dr. Brian Clark. He is a professor of finance and is also the associate dean for academic affairs at RPI. So Dr. Brian's research specializes in financial intermediation and risk management with a particular focus on the application of machine learning. We're also very proud to have one of our alumni with us today, Miss Kusuma. She will be joining us as an alumni from one of our programs, where she now studies the MPA in Economic Policy Management at Columbia University. So she's specializing in micro and macroeconomic policymaking. We're also joined by Dr. Simpi Nanda. She is an industry expert with over 18 years of global experience in scaling educational enterprises and driving growth in the international education sector, backed by a proven track record in business leadership. And finally, we're honored to be joined by Dr. Nilesh Shah. He's the director of New Nexus Educational Services, which is a reputable organization which has been going since 2001. Going back to his early career, Dr. Nilesh has studied in the US before going on to work at Intel and then becoming a professor of engineering. He has taught at Mumbai University and has also published multiple academic papers. So as you can see, we've got a really strong panel for you guys today, and yeah, I'm really excited to get into to their insights. So yeah, let's dive into the conversation and hear their expert perspectives. So the first question that I'm going to ask today will be for Dr. Simpi and also Dr. Nilesh. So you guys are working very closely with Indian students, obviously. So I wanted to know what sets apart those who go on to lead in science, engineering, or innovation roles in the US. So what are you seeing that they're doing differently compared to maybe some of your other students? So firstly, I'm going to open this up to Dr. Simpi.
Correct. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you for this opportunity. So, as far as my experience is concerned, I always believe that US education has consistently, I can say, been the first choice for the students, especially for the STEM category. Correct now? The why? Because here the students believe that they will not only get the degrees, correct? They will be getting into the more dynamic environment where they will come from India, where we have something related to the more theoretical or a rote-based learning. Now moving to the practical aspects where they can do lots of innovations, correct? Can get a chance to interact or to join innovation clubs where they can get not only the resumes or in fact uh, I can say a major circle of the networking. That is one of the best parts. So that's the reason students mostly want to be work for this innovations and all. And you know that by the 2030, we can say that India will face a significant demand of the highly skilled professionals. And US is one of that will provide a global mobility, cultural exchange, and a launchpad for the leadership. So I believe that this makes Indian students a different or set apart for especially a craze among the Indian students about the US education.
Sure. And those students who are going on to excel, are you noticing that they're doing anything different early on compared to maybe other students? Like, is there anything they can do in advance to make sure that when they arrive in the US, they hit the ground running?
Yes, the reason because once they go there, they understand, and that when they come back, they will having a lots of ideas in the form of the startups or in the edtech. Correct? India is going to be a hub for the edtech, and whenever they get the ideas, that explore from that only. So this is the reason that if students come with the education system, means with a possibility of having an Indian attribute of having lots of hard work, correct, match with the excellence or the innovation of the US, then definitely they rock.
Perfect. So I'm gonna open this up to our RPI professors. So starting with yourself, Dr. Agung, based on your experience working with or teaching Indian students, so what do you think sets apart those who go on to really excel in your courses and further on in their career? So what really set them apart from maybe other students? So is it their involvement in extracurricular stuff? Are they taking real ownership of making sure that they are joining in leadership roles? What are you seeing that works well?
So thank you, Stephen, for the question. Good morning, and thank you also to all the InUni team for arranging this meeting. So coming back to your question, I first would like to say that we do have a strong history of our alum, including those from India, excelling in their fields of occupations, right? So, you mentioned obviously, Mr. Sabi Khan, who recently became the CEO of Apple, but we had many, many more examples. We have Dr. Jayan Balika, who invented a device called IGBT, which is very widely used in power electronics and power systems all around the world. And his contribution was so impactful and meaningful that he was awarded the National Medal of Innovation by President Obama, several years ago. And he
Sorry,
also received.
Dr. Agang, I don't think we
Yes.
can hear you very clearly. There's a comment in the chat. Um, if you could,
I
we
could I
can't.
could hear I could hear him perfectly. So I'm not sure. It might be a connection issue on. Is it just me or can
No, we
no?
can't hear clearly because it's coming very soft.
Hmm, I didn't seem to have any issue during um, um, the technical preparation. Is it any
Yeah,
different now?
I can. Yeah, as mentioned, I can hear you perfectly clear, so it's quite strange. There must be maybe an issue on the other end. It could be. Yeah, I think we'll just have to continue. I think we'll have to. Yeah, I think we'll just have to continue.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
was just mentioning, that we have concrete examples of our alum, including those coming from India who are successful in their fields. Um, so now your question is what set them apart. I think um, actually, if the students ask the very question that you asked, that is already a good first step for them to, to reach success, right? They need to know, they need to be curious about what they need to do to, to set themselves apart. Now, if you look at the alum who are successful, I could see three different traits that support their success. So one is, mastery of, technical skills and knowledge, right? So that is something that you definitely get from our courses, from our curricula, but also from, for example, involvement in research. So a student who is interested in deepening their, technical skills mastery should really look deeply into the curriculum and, try to figure out what areas really excite them and find out, courses and so on to take to sharpen their skills. We have somewhat flexible curricula in our master's program, so they can have many courses to choose from. They can get involved in research, approach research advisors, and ask to get involved in research. We have a lot of that going on. Number two is leadership skills. So we are fortunate here at RPI that we have the infrastructure to also help students along that line. We have the Archer Center for leadership, for student leadership, and they provide extracurricular activities and content that would help student sharpen their leadership skills. And then the third thing is entrepreneurship spirit. Now, this is also something that RPI has infrastructure and offices that could help students. And actually, you know, more than just providing instructions, we also have the opportunities to provide students with, you know, the chance to shape their ideas and take that to set up a company. So we have, a lot of those going on. And I think, the first step is, Stephen, again, for students to really adopt the question that you ask and try to figure out, what they want to do, how they want to sharpen their skills and knowledge and experience, and, go for the resources that we have.
Thank you. Yeah, it's amazing to hear. I mean, obviously, we discussed a brief bit about the research and the facilities available. I'm sure we'll get into a bit more detail afterwards about that. But I'm just going to pose the same question to Dr. Brian. If there's anything else you feel you can add to that.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen, and thank you, Gang. So I'll try not to repeat what he said too much, but just for a little bit of background. So I'm in the business school at RPI, and all of our programs are interdisciplinary, and all of our business degrees are actually STEM as well. So there's the engineering side with the really hard technical skills. And then in the business school, we actually, compared to most business schools, we are actually very technical and STEM oriented as well. And so from my perspective, what I've seen, and you'll hear from Kusuma later on, but the students that really do very well tend to have very good networking skills, leadership skills, and they have a very willingness to adapt to the situation. And so my experience in industry also is these communication skills and some of what you would call the, not really soft skills, but more the durable skills, meaning that they last with you through your career. Those are the things that really set the students apart. Most of the students that we get, and we recruit, engineering and science undergrads, for example, into our MBA program, into our master's in quant finance, business analytics. We're looking for those students. And then when we bring them in, really what we offer them the opportunity to is on the professional development side. We do a lot of leadership training, networking, events, things like that. For the undergrad side, we love to see students, or we actually, it's a requirement that students go through an internship in the business school to graduate. And so these types of things in this professional development, what we want is that the students, by the time they're going out looking for a job, to have already gotten over that nervousness of going out and talking to new people and networking and doing all these things. So individuals that have those types of skills and can complement the hard technical skills that our students are coming in with, and learning across campus are the ones, at least from my point of view, that do phenomenal when they get to the industry.
That's amazing to hear. I mean, it'd be a shame not to ask about the relationship that you have with your students. Um, how are students building relationships with the faculty, such as yourself? We talk about networking. It's not just networking with other students. It's also very important to network with the faculty.
Mhm.
So how are students really encouraged to do that, or how are you seeing some students doing that? Not just with yourself, I guess, with the wider faculty as well.
Yeah, I think in a couple of different ways. And I think it varies a little bit by the school that you're in. So the business school is relatively small. So our student to faculty ratio is, by its nature, fairly small. And so we just, through coursework, we interact with students a lot, but we also have actually, and really in the last year and a half, we've invested a lot on the student services side, and in terms of starting up new clubs and things for students. So for example, we have a finance club who manages about $250,000 of real money, right? And so I'm the advisor for that. So I work with these students, and they have to get trades approved and things. So once real money's on the line, you kind of interact quite a bit with the students. So there are part of those things like that. We also have networking events where the faculty go, and we kind of interact because we know a lot of the industry partners as well. And then the last thing is really, and it's probably more on Agung's side, so I'll let him talk more about it, but on the research opportunities as well. Now in the business school, we offer, we have faculty that have joint research projects with our students, but that's another way to really connect with faculty is, introduce yourself, let them know what you're interested in. I get emails this time of year all the time from incoming students about, what they want to work on in various projects, that if we have anything going on. So really a lot of it's organic in the sense that, we see each other around. And but the other thing is, there are structured sort of events in terms of, whether it's a networking event or structured research or class projects, those types of things, where the students really do develop relationships with faculty. And as a result, we have alums like Kasuma here who, we still keep in contact with the school. And I guess
Yeah, that's amazing to hear. Yeah, and that's why I guess it was so easy to get one of your previous alumni on this panel with us. Dr. Nilesh Shah, I want to bring you into the discussion here. Based on your experience, what sets apart your students who go on to lead in science, engineering, or any other STEM related field?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you wide. Yeah, we can hear you
So,
nice,
can
clear.
you repeat the question if you don't mind?
So your experience, it goes back to 2001, even earlier from a professor point of view. So I just wanted to get your input here on what sets apart any of your previous students or those students that you've counseled who have gone on to lead in a STEM related role in the US. So what sets them apart? So in terms of their leadership or any other things that they've prepared to do before going to the US or whilst they've been in the US.
You have to first decide the domain. What do you want to study? Or if the student is not able to decide, it is a job of counselor to identify what are the potentials of the student, what are the merits of the student, what are the liking areas of the student. Based on that, you can suggest the line. There are few courses like RPI has, for example, environment, second is a biotech, third is I think bioengineering and medicine, and These are supply chain management. Then we can say multidisciplinary courses, health science courses. Now, these are a typical courses where the market is huge. Okay. So I always suggest the student to go on an evergreen field, which will yield them lot financially, or to have to become an entrepreneur in that field, to have your own startup. That they can select, and these all are related to STEM. Before going to them, then we can customize them to do some preparation in India while you go there. And that preparation will help them to accelerate in the course, grading wise, getting an internships, or doing a research in that 5 to 6 research lab what RPI has. All right. RPI excellently has many things related to environment, fresh water research going on. Their researches are funded by state, federal government, as well by the sponsors and the industries. So students can get link with this, which will give them a mileage to think about what are they best at, to be an entrepreneur, to be a scientist, or to be going for the job and then eventually start their own startup. So science, engineering, all the fields what we have mentioned, all the predominant fields RPI has an excellent future for the student. It is just a question of identification. What suits the student? What is the fashion that we have to match? That's all.
Sure. And how is it you'd go about doing that? How is it you'd go about matching that? Would you recommend that they get involved in maybe some summer schools whilst they're in high school, online research? Like how would you align, a certain subject area to the students' requirements or
Are you saying that how they should approach to this?
yeah, this is what I'm saying. So is there anything they're doing, early on in their life, which is them setting them up to be leaders in the STEM fields?
So once again, let's say student is in let's say higher secondary, 12th standard student. When that student comes in 11th standard, we set up a meeting one-to-one. We map what is the best in RPI for them. And then related to that, we start training them for the NGOs, or maybe a summer short course at RPI itself, or maybe
Hmm.
the private organization where this course is going on. So this will increase their interest and the
Yep.
profile, which RPI will acknowledge. May they give us internship late as soon as they study a 1 or 2 years. May they give a scholarship. May they put in the research table or the
Yep.
domain, which will encourage the both side of the students and the school.
That's amazing. Yeah, thanks for the insight there, Dr. Nilesh. I'm going to bring back in Neha. We haven't heard you for a while.
Thank you so much. I think they were great answers, and I think it's quite inspiring to see, the things that are happening, and to what Dr. Nilesh also spoke. I think I have a follow-up question, but this is going to be for Kusuma, who is an alumni, because I would love to hear a student perspective to this. So the question is, US institutions are known for their research-driven culture. So, how is RPI enabling Indian students to move from learners to innovators and then entrepreneurs? So, share some experiences that you've had at the campus, Kusuma.
Definitely. No, thank you so much, and good morning, everyone. I concur with everyone who has spoken thus far. I think Indians come from resource-constrained environments in general, so the mindset for problem solving or for resilience is pretty high, usually. And in that case, I think RPI also helped us a lot, because I think we were part of something called a Master Scholars Research Program when I was back at school, where you had to work on some interesting problem statements, with not just the professors who were part of our art program per se, but outside our program. So there were very different projects that we worked on. At the time, I think I worked on something about the startup failure rates and why do they fail? What are the reasons behind startups failing and how long do they take from inception to death, unfortunately. And there are also several avenues. There were also hackathons and everything else that were more predominant than what I have experienced back in the past. So I hold a bachelor's in mechanical engineering back from India. So we do have constraints in terms of research labs, and I think it's getting better back home, but definitely US, has an edge. So RPI has several platforms. I think the Severino Institute for uh, mind me, I think I forgot the entire acronym, but I know that it's for entrepreneurship and for innovation. So that has also helped all of us during our time because we were able to do internships and also capstone projects with various local and other companies across Troy and the upstate region in New York. And all these, I think, help you go beyond your initial mindset because the biggest thing that we require as students when we come here is learning to adapt across cultures and disciplines and developing not just curiosity for curiosity's sake, but also something that is more purpose driven, I guess. And or maybe that's how I think about it because I also moved into public policy. And to be honest, I mean, moving into public policy with a STEM degree has been extremely beneficial because whatever I've studied at RPI, I mean, in terms of analytics and everything, those were the things I ended up implementing in the policy space, which you would probably not think about it that way. But when it's coming to innovation across education sectors, building clean energy models or scaling healthcare, not just from an entrepreneurial standpoint, but also from a policy standpoint and everything, that has been exceptional. And many of our own alumni or my own friends right now, they are all working in several fields in the tech sector and beyond the tech sector as well, all your big tech. And I think one of the things that they do mention is entrepreneurship is one thing, but also entrepreneurship is another thing, where whatever success that or whatever skills that they've learned at RPI are enabling success within their own organizations to move up the ladder as well. Because leadership is a key thing, and we've been exposed to several presentations that we had to do throughout our courses. And and we also mingle with our classmates who are from various parts of the world, and that's really helpful to be able to employ those skills in the workplaces. So at the end of the day, we are not just building our resume or something by going through RPI. Actually, that's like our stepping stone to build a great narrative later on for our career as well.
Thank you, Kasuma. Yeah, very detailed answer there. I just want to touch on one additional thing. So during your course, was there any kind of mentorship opportunities?
So, like I mentioned, the Master Scholars Research Program was one way. You had to be interested and apply as a separate application. But students who were interested did that, and there was mentorship, especially also from the assistant dean at that point, who was a different person. And there were those opportunities and mentorship available. And also the Career Center was really helpful because when you first come here, even resume editing is something that probably seems really small, but the kind of resume editing you probably have after your bachelor's or your undergrad in India versus what you need here, and the kind of things that you need to look for. So those kind of mentorships were definitely available. And we also engaged in career fairs and how to prepare for interviews and things like that. So
Sure.
all of that sort of mentorship was definitely available at RPI.
That's amazing to hear. Perfect insight. And I'm going to bring in Dr. Agung now. So the same topic to you. So obviously RPI is known for its research, its innovation. So how is RPI yourself, Dr. Brian? How are you enabling Indian students such as Kasuma to move from just learners, just those who are studying a degree, to becoming innovators and entrepreneurs?
Yeah, thank you, Brian. I switched my microphone. I hope I come across more clearly to everybody else. So the question is, how do you educate students so that they move along from just being learner to innovators and researchers? I think at RPI we do that in different ways, right? So even within the classroom, if we are talking about graduate programs and we're talking about our graduate courses, our classes are typically not just, the typical undergraduate courses where you just, listen, take notes, and take exams. So our classes, many of them, especially at the graduate level, would include project-based evaluation and project-based learning, where students are asked to apply what they learn in class on oftentimes projects of their own choosing. So that already gears them towards not just, again, learning passively, but synthesizing the knowledge that they gain in the classroom and using them in solving problems. Now, outside of the classroom, we have research opportunities. You mentioned earlier, and I concur that we have over $120 million in research expenditure every year. So there's a lot of research going on, on campus. And students, most of our graduate students are involved in research, and they work with faculty members. They, work towards, answering, deep questions, big questions that have, big impact on the society, ranging from clean energy, AI and machine learning, quantum computing is a topic that you just mentioned, biotechnology, manufacturing, and many others. So research involvement is number 2 in my answer. And lastly, I would perhaps repeat what I said earlier. We have also the opportunities for students to get involved in leadership and entrepreneurship. We have a center that provides a curriculum for students who want to sharpen their leadership skills, right? So speaking skills, resume coaching, people skills, managing people, managing conflicts, and so on. We have the Severino Center for Technological Entrepreneurship, and they provide students with, things from, instructions and curriculum on entrepreneurship, all the way down to starting capital for their ideas, right? So there's really, a lot of things that are available, a lot of opportunities, a lot of infrastructure available on campus that, if students are aware of, what they need to do, then they can do really well. But I want to come back to the first thing that I said when I answer your first question. Especially at the graduate level, I think nobody's going to tell you exactly what to do, right? I mean, many people have different aspirations and different paths in life, not the same, aspiration for one person is good for another person. So they need to know, how they define success for themselves. What is their aspiration? And then consult with their advisors and, find information about resources on campus that could help them along the way.
Thank you, Dr. Agung. Yeah, it sounds like there's so many opportunities for your students. I'm quite jealous. Dr. Brian, sorry, I keep asking you after I ask Dr. Agung, so I hope he's not stolen what you're about to say. But if you have anything else to add, it would be great to hear from you. So just on how you're enabling your students, how you're enabling Indian students more specifically to move from just learners, from just students to innovators, entrepreneurs, and those that are changing the global landscape.
Great. Yeah. So I mean, in addition to what both Kusuma and Agung mentioned, they talked about the Severino Center, which is that used to be in Lally, I think when Kusuma was here, but that's actually now part of what we call the Office of Strategic Alliance and Translation, which is basically our innovation office, which is campus wide now. So it's actually a very large center, and they actually have, I think, it's already been mentioned, but a Catalyst Fund, which basically that's, millions of dollars, which we actually have to help students fund their own businesses. And within that, they call what's a brain trust, basically connections to industry and VC funding and all these things. And so there's actually been a push. And then the other aspect of that is the intellectual property. So all of our intellectual IP contracts have been have been rewritten in the past few years to be much more student and really faculty too friendly, meaning that if you invent something here, you you retain the ownership. So that encourages students to utilize RPI's state-of-the-art labs, computing, etc. to actually innovate and start their own businesses. So where I can actually add some value here is in the business school specifically. We have courses where we have a course called starting your own venture, which is exactly what it sounds like, right? If you're a student and you both undergrad or grad student, and you want to start your own business and you're working on it, then you can work with faculty members and get credit for a class while working on your own business, and mentorship and with industry partners and so on and so forth. We also have another example would be in our MBA program, and I think this is related to what Nilesh was talking about earlier, is we have what's called a life science entrepreneurship concentration. And so all of our master's programs, you have a capstone project where you work with an industry partner, and that could be anything from, we had going to New York Mets baseball internships doing analytics, we had interactive brokers, you have supply chain companies, but the life science entrepreneurship, we pair students up with inventors. So for example, life sciences, so a lot of like medical doctors that have developed, medical devices, surgical tools and things. And really, they spend a semester helping them turn that into a business. So really how to commercialize invention. And so we have a lot of that, so many examples we could go with, but I think you kind of get the gist of it's really our coursework and our programs are more than just the typical courses. We do try and engage as much as we can with experiential learning and in real industry and try and get students as exposed as possible to, the cutting edge technology that's being pushed into the industry.
Sure, that's amazing to hear. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. So I'm sure there's a number of exciting projects and startups that you hear about from your students. Is there anything that comes to mind of anything that your students are currently working on, or any of like your recent graduates who have gone on to create a startup? And yeah, it's an exciting startup, let's say. Is there anything that comes to mind?
So, I'll let Brian answer, I guess, the rest of the question. But I just want to bring up one interesting fact that Brian mentioned about the Catalyst Fund. The Catalyst Fund that Brian just mentioned is a resource that was donated by our alum to the Severino Center, and the idea is to support students, who have business ideas to start up, their ideas. Now, what is interesting about that fund is that it's actually donated by Mr. Ajit Prabhu, who is one of our alum from India, right? So this is essentially, a concrete example of what you just said. We have an alum who went on and set up their successful, business, and returned to RPI and, donated a significant amount of resources to help other students, go along the same path.
Wow, yeah, that's amazing to hear. I mean, it's a very, very relevant example. They clearly feel very strongly about RPI and the influence that RPI has had on their career to then, go full circle and then donate that back to current students. That's great to hear. Brian, have you got any examples on the top of your head?
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of small startups, but I guess I'll name some of the relatively recent bigger ones. So the founders of Rivian, RJ Scaringe is an RPI alum. So Rivian, the electric vehicles.
Yeah.
One of the co-founders of NVIDIA, Curtis Priam, is an alum and was really instrumental in helping us fund a lot of what we do.
Yeah.
And and we also have other students that have gone on to start finance in the fintech area. I'm trying to think that there's a payment system, and I'm drawing a blank on the name of it, but it's essentially you would have heard of it if I could think of the. Excuse me?
I think it's PayPal.
PayPal?
Yeah.
Okay. I
Could
didn't
be.
know that one.
There was another one. It's more recent than PayPal, but I'm just drawing a blank on the name. But in any case, so we have a lot. Those are kind of the really high level successful ones. But we do have a lot of students that start their own businesses while in school, and take those forward through the whole process. And now that's becoming easier and easier with the support that we can actually offer campus wide.
Perfect. I'm going to bring back in Dr. Simpi here. So when we're talking about, the next generation on innovators, specifically, Indian students, which particular fields do you think, I know there's so much right now in terms of like AI, quantum mechanics, biotechnology, et cetera, there's so many current fields which are being discussed, but where do you see your students and Indian students having the potential to lead in the next wave of innovation? And essentially where can they future-proof their careers? So where are you advising your students to study, and kind of what fields to study?
Right. First, I would like to resonate my thoughts with, I can say, with the Neha. Neha said very well, learners to innovators to the entrepreneurs, correct? This is what we are looking for here in India, correct? As India grows into a $5 trillion economy, but we need STEM leaders. There is a need of a STEM leaders in India, correct now? And Indian students are not just looking for the degrees, for the qualifications, they are looking to create an impact. And I'm very happy to have the feedback from Kusuma that how institutions help the candidate to convert their ambition into the action. And this is what the Indian parents, Indian students are looking for. So love to have a Kusuma and a Neha with this strong ideas that what desperately Indian students are looking for. Now coming to your question, Stephen, what you are asking about the major sectors for the innovation. So these are the sectors, I think the four impactful sectors. The first one you said very well, the AI. As the technology is taking, so students, or in fact, I think this is a very good combination because Indian students are very good in mathematics, correct? And when they are going with mathematics along with the computing skills, that is going to be a real potential of them to make having a leading role into the scalable projects, because this is also a need of India to have the products that we can make into the innovation with the help of the more and more exposure in terms of the entrepreneurship. And the second is very well said, climate technology. India is having several problems related to the environment. So students want to study such courses and want to come back to India and launching their own startups where they can give the more potential ideas to these type of technological, because the US is like a launch pad, correct? Where they will get an idea how to make the new innovations. And then when they come back, it is like offer global mobility to them. So
That's
I think
amazing.
are the two major sectors. And last but not the least, I can talk about the health sector also, biotechnology. Correct. Students are also looking for such potentials because in India also there is a huge scopes in the future. So Indian students are looking for such courses.
Sure. And you're really seeing these courses in demand, when your students return back to India, that they're very in demand. Are they easily finding employment? Like what's their career journey once they return back with a degree in one of these areas? Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah, so my follow-up question was, So when they come to the US, they come to RPI, for example, they'll study on one of our courses related to these fields. So what's the journey like once they return to India? Are you seeing that it's very much in demand? Is it easy for them to find employment? What's their kind of career journey when they return? Or are you advising them to maybe stay in the US? Like there's a bit of give and take whether or not they should try find employment in the US or whether they should return back to India and begin their career there. So it's kind of a loaded question with that one as well.
No, Dr. Brain said it very well that what type of leadership skills they are going to build into the candidates, that is really a requirement. So once they are having those leadership skills, they can understand that whether they can be able to have in the US market or come back to the India, because they will become not only having a skills in a one particular segment, because they get a multiple exposure in the terms of networking, in the terms of leadership, or you can say about to their passion, as Nilesh sir talking about the passion of the students. So it varies, but these are the evergreen courses having a scope not only in India, in fact in the US also. So global, once they have that global mobility, I think they are ideal for every place.
Great to hear. Yeah, I'm conscious of time. So Neha, I'm going to bring you back in. And
Absolutely. Thank
yeah,
you so much. I think, Dr. Simpi, you really covered a lot about where the Indian student potential lands in the next wave of innovation. I think it is very inspiring to hear that. So thank you so much. And I think, from the industry lens, it's important to also hear from, I would say, Dr. Brian on how are global employers in the US nurturing international STEM talent, and what leadership pathways exist after graduating from RPI?
Yeah, thanks. So in terms of leadership pathways, there's a couple of different ways to look at that. So one would be obviously on the startup side, which if that's one of the things we've talked quite a bit about. But then the other side, if you go the more traditional corporate route, there's really a couple of ways that our students are getting into leadership roles earlier than many of their counterparts. One would be, a lot of the companies are actually, so like the bigger, more established companies, like like a Wells Fargo, Bank of America, I'm obviously in finance, so I'm more familiar with those. They have leadership training opportunities in terms of a leadership course where you get hired into a program and it's a couple of years and you learn various aspects of the business. So Wells Fargo hired a couple of years ago, or last year actually, which is fresh in my mind, for an analytics team. So it's like a centralized analytics team at their bank. And basically what you do, you get hired into that, and then you do a rotation throughout the company for about 2 years. And then once you graduate from a program like that, within the company, then you specialized in lending or asset management or whatever you want to work on. So that's one way. The other way I think is what we see is that the students who come in and they do some sort of interdisciplinary work. A lot of times it's obviously the ones I'm closer to are with management as well. So whether an MBA or a degree in business analytics or quantitative finance, paired with the undergrad computer science, engineering, those types of skills, those students when they get hired, they do very well because of these networking skills, leadership skills that they've sort of developed, and they sort of chart their own path and they do, they move up very quickly. And so, my best advice would be to diversify your skill set as much as possible. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to get a degree in business or something else, but as much as you possibly can, even if you're, in engineering or science, join something where you have some sort of leadership opportunity, where you do an internship, kind of get out of your comfort zone a little bit, because it's going to benefit you, once you hit the industry. If you can be flexible, I mean, we're all going to be working for businesses at some point. And so if you can really diversify your skill set and really work on those durable skills, I think that's the best, advice I can give to new graduates going out from any major, and again, not just a business school.
That's great to hear. Yeah, I know we touched on it earlier about the opportunities for them to diversify their skill set. Let's touch on the career opportunities because you mentioned it briefly just then as well. So, what kind of channels exist at RPI for them to access these career opportunities? For example, Wells Fargo. Like, is there career fairs? Like, how is the university connecting students and global employers? Sorry, I'll ask that to you, Dr. Brian, again.
Okay. So yeah. So like the example of Wells Fargo, that's a specific example where we knew a recruiter, and so we invited them to campus and we held an information session for our students. So we do that. There's also campus-wide career fairs. And so those have been, it's mainly, it seems like I'm talking a lot. So the business school is a relatively small school in the overall university. So those career fairs are really predominantly for the engineering and science grads. But in the business school, we've actually invested a lot in the last year and a half, I guess, in terms of we have now more like Lally or business school specific internships, and other schools across campus are doing the same thing. And so really what we have been is we've made a big push into investing on the student services aspect of things, to really tailor the career fairs, networking events to the specific types of jobs that our students are looking for. So in the business school, roughly a third of our students go into finance, roughly a third into consulting, and then third kind of everywhere else. And so we have, really made a focus to really build those pipelines, even at the undergraduate level. I mean, if you want to go, for example, work on Wall Street, you really need an internship after your sophomore year. So we've actually spent a lot of time, trying to build that pipeline, so that our students, by the time they graduate, they can get those jobs in investment banks, which are super, super competitive because, that they pay extremely well. But in general, I would say, we try and tailor the career service and career development to specific, schools and departments. And I'll let, Agang, talk about that as well, because there's certainly a little bit different than the business school perspective.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. So Stephen, just as Brian mentioned, we have sort of campus-wide organization and events that are helping students towards their career. We have the Center for Career and Professional Development, CCPD, and they hold multiple career fairs every year for our students. Now, in addition to the standard, the career fairs, we also have many sort of more organic avenues, as Brian mentioned, how companies reach out to us to get our students. Well, a lot of companies really want to get our students to work for them, right? So, we have a lot of companies who would come outside of the career fair and ask, hey, can we, set up, I don't know, an hour meeting or so to talk to your students about, our companies. And so, we have several of those, over at least in the past year, and that speaks to how much our students are desired by companies. But we also have companies, and oftentimes actually alum of our programs reach out directly to professors that they know work on specific fields, let's say robotics and automation, and they would ask, hey, I'm now working on this company on robotics and automation. I really would like to get RPI graduates because my company is looking for maybe 2-3 people on this role. And so we have many of those. So there's, I guess, the summary is that we have the structural things that are organized by campus-wide organizations, but we also have more organic connections with companies through which they recruit our students.
Amazing. Oh, thank you, Dr. Gung. Yeah, it's great to hear about the different channels that students are finding their opportunities through. I'm very conscious of time. We've had you guys on the call, luckily for us, for almost an hour now. So I've got one final question, I'd say, or topic that I want to cover, and we'll keep it very brief for all of our panelists. So maybe just one sentence, even one word, if you want to just say one word. What advice would you give to Indian STEM students who want to make a global impact, who want to become innovators, change makers, and shape the global future of STEM industries? We'll start with Dr. Simpi, and then we'll go with Dr. Nilesh, and then we'll bring back in Kasuma, and then Dr. Agung and Dr. Brian. So, Dr. Simpi, if you wanna start there, what advice would you give to Indian STEM students who want to make a global impact? Just a very short one sentence.
I'll try a
To put
very
you on the
short.
spot. Yeah, to put you on the spot. I was just conscious of time.
Correct. I suggest all the candidates, correct? First, they have to be having a very, very, I can say, a problem-solving mindset. This is very important. You can go in any of the field, but it is important. It is a demanding skill that you must need. And the next most important thing I would like to be add is adaptability. A candidate must be in that position to learn new things. They have not to be work only on the one, they have to be multidisciplinary. This is from my side.
Amazing. Dr. Nilesh Shah?
Yes, I agree with Simpy that adaptability, it's something called as survival of the fittest. To be successful in a STEM, one reality is that my observation, if the person is research based or a scientist based, they cannot be entrepreneur. You will observe this model. And the one who are the entrepreneur, they are not deep driven scientist. It's a midway part taken by the student. Student has to identify themselves that where they are fitting in. They are fitting in the entrepreneur mindset, or they are fitting in designer or scientist mindset, research mindset, or they want to be a academic oriented only. So number one, find out your own choice of the line of working, a passion and their characteristics. Second, then identify the field. You want to go for health science, or you want to go for electronic art, or you want to go for business analytics, or you want to go for biomedical data science. All right. These all fields I marked in RPI as an excellent field. They are guaranteedly going to give you money, fame, research, entrepreneurship, startup, or everything they will give. Again, I'm repeating, student has to identify in what mindset I am fitting in. Am I research based? I can sit for longer years on a desk and a chair for longer and produce some output. Or am I a leader where I'll go outside and speak a lot and sell what I want to sell and earn or create a wealth or create an empire? So this way they can, identify themselves and definitely lead to the success. That's all.
Amazing. Yeah, definitely some motivational
Correct.
nuggets in there for our prospective students.
Correct. Thank you,
Kasuma?
Nilesh, for giving more strong words to my thought as well. Thank you.
Yeah, he just developed on it. Kasuma, any advice for your peers?
I mean, I
What?
concur with all the things, at the end of the day, you're trying to rewrite your story. So while you're doing that, just honor your roots and ask the question, whatever I'm building, who benefits from this, or what value am I bringing to the world with this? That's about it.
Amazing. And Dr. Brian, any advice you'd give to Indian STEM students?
Well, I would say come to RPI, but
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Um,
That's it. We'll leave it at that.
no, I'd echo what was said, and I think kind of the main themes of what we've been talking about all day, at least from my perspective, is get out there, don't be afraid to take some risk, and diversify your skill set as much as possible.
Amazing. And finally, Dr. Agung.
Yeah, thank you, Stephen. I actually, typed up a response to sort of a similar question in the Q&A, but just, to say briefly, I think students should identify, the kind of things that would make them competitive, as well, my perspective from school engineering as an engineer, as a global engineer. And that would include having the technical skills of the advanced technologies, having the ability to show your skills, having a portfolio, being adaptive, and being able to self-learn, as others have mentioned, having leadership skills, and I think last is and definitely not least is to have sort of ethical mindset that would really carry you far, because the technical skill can only bring you so far, but if you don't have ethical mindset, you will not last.
Amazing. Yeah, I can only say thank you from all of us for the whole panel's participation in this. We've had some incredible advice just there, but we've had some incredible detail about how India's STEM talent will shape the global future, not just through RPI, but going on to make an impact in the world. So yeah, I want to say a big thank you to Dr. Agung, Dr. Brian, Dr. Nilesh Shah, Dr. Simpi, and our amazing alumni Kasuma, who has joined us on the call as well. So big thank you to everyone for your time today. Thank you for joining us. Just want to let you know that this session has been recorded, so you will receive a link to the recording. So feel free to share that with your colleagues who may also be interested in learning more about RPI. So once again, a big thank you from myself, a big thank you to the participants on the panel, and a big thank you to everyone who has joined us today. So until next time, take care everyone and have a good rest
Thank
of
you
your day.
all.
Goodbye.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye-bye everyone.